You don't have to go out and make $1 million. You don't have to move. You don't have to find a new partner in life. You just have to love yourself.
You're listening to Overwhelmed Working Woman, the podcast that helps you be more calm and more productive by doing less. I'm your host, Michelle Gauthier, a former overwhelmed working woman and current life coach. On this show, we unpack the stress and pressure that today's working woman experiences. And in each episode, you'll get a strategy to bring more calm, ease, and relaxation to your life.
Hi, friend. Today we are reviewing some awesome concepts from a book that I love called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It by Kamal Ravikant. I feel like it's very common knowledge and everybody believes that we should all talk more nicely to ourselves and that we should love ourselves. In theory, it's really good, but I feel like there's not a lot of talk about how to do that. And in my experience in working with one-on-one clients and group coaching clients, everyone will tell me I have such a negative brain. My brain says so many mean things to me about myself, things I would never say to my best friend. And everyone feels like they're alone in that. So I just want to first start out by reassuring you that if you have negative self-talk and if your brain says some really mean things to you sometimes, you are not alone. And if this is an issue that you really would like to work on, you should definitely listen to this podcast and maybe consider reading this book as well. So when you listen today, I'm going to tell you about this difficult moment in the author's life that led him to create this whole self-love practice. The 3 key insights from the book that can change the way you think about yourself and help you build your self-worth. And then the takeaway from the book that I personally love the most. But before we jump into that, I want to tell you that today's episode is sponsored by Cozy Earth. In case you haven't noticed, I take being comfortable very seriously. I talk about my to-don't list sometimes, and on my to-don't list is I don't wear anything that's uncomfortable. And little things really make the biggest difference. I've been wearing Cozy Earth's essential socks lately, and they're some of the most comfortable socks that I own. They're soft, they feel cushioned, and they're breathable in a way that just feels great, whether I'm running around during the day or just chilling at home with no shoes on with my socks. It's just such a simple everyday item, but when something is designed this thoughtfully, it just really elevates a little part of your day. Head over to CozyEarth.com and use my code for 20% off. The code is OWW for Overwhelmed Working Woman. And if you get a post-purchase survey, make sure and mention you heard about Cozy Earth right here on Overwhelmed Working Woman. Okay, back to the book. At the start of the book, the author, Kamal, talks openly about a time when things were completely falling apart for him. He had built a huge startup that was not going well. He'd gone through a painful breakup, and he was just feeling deeply unhappy and disconnected from himself. From the outside, his life probably looked successful, but on the inside, he was just totally struggling to the point where he was considering ending his own life. He describes how he woke up every morning feeling miserable, immediately waking up to negative self-talk and realizing that the way that he talked to himself in his own mind was super harsh. His voice was full of criticism and doubt and negativity all the time. And one day he had this realization. He thought, what if the real problem isn't my circumstances? So it isn't this terrible breakup I just had, or it isn't that my company is failing. What if the real problem is that I don't actually love myself? So he made this decision to go all in and treat loving himself like it was the most important thing he could work on, almost like his life depended on it, hence the title. And from that moment, he began experimenting with a simple practice that eventually became the core of his book. The first big insight in this book is that self-love is a practice, not just a feeling. And what that means is self-love is something that you have to practice intentionally and internally. Most people think they'll love themselves once certain things happen. When I'm in a good relationship, when I have a successful job, when I say sorry to that person whose feelings I hurt, when I become more confident, once I feel like I've got my life together, that's when I'll really love myself. But this book flips it the other way around. He argues that self-love isn't the reward at the end of the journey. It's actually the starting point. And the really hopeful thing that I love in this book is that he says it can be built through repetition and daily practice. So if you're not a person who just automatically loves himself, I don't know if that person exists, but if you're not like that, it's something that can be built through skill and practice. The second key idea from this book is that your inner dialogue, or the way that you're talking to yourself in your head, shapes your life. Think about that. You're criticizing yourself internally, saying things like, I should have done better, I'm not good enough, everybody else is doing this better than me, I messed that up. The author noticed that his internal dialogue was constantly negative. And so he started replacing that inner voice with one simple mantra. Throughout the day, he would say, I love myself. Sometimes while he was walking or working or just quietly in his own mind, he would just say, I love myself. And at first it felt strange. It does feel weird if you say that out loud to yourself. But over time, the repetition began to shift the way that he felt about himself. And he slowly moved from criticism towards compassion and kindness towards himself. The idea is that the words we repeat internally eventually shape the beliefs that we carry about ourselves. The third key insight from this book is that self-love changes the way that you live your life. When you start genuinely beginning to love yourself and have compassion for yourself, it just naturally changes the way you live because you start making different decisions from the place of self-love. You take better care of your health because you love yourself. You set healthier boundaries because you care about yourself. You stop tolerating things that drain you. You become more resilient when things go wrong. It's like everything in his world started looking up, all from this place of self-love. I have given this book to clients. In fact, I can think of more than one client who said that this book totally changed their lives. But I have given this book to clients before, and the first response is, okay, so all I have to do is look in the mirror and say, I love myself. Okay, it sounds like a Saturday Night Live skit, like a Stuart Smalley kind of thing. Are you even serious? But my favorite takeaway from the book is the idea that self-love is the core of everything. So if self-love is the core of everything, and self-love can be developed by something as simple as practicing over and over, saying, I love myself and learning to love yourself, why not do it? You don't have to go out and make $1 million. You don't have to move. You don't have to find a new partner in life. You just have to love yourself. And then the rest of your life will start to elevate. You make better decisions. Your resilience improves. Your relationships improves. Everything in your life improves when you love yourself. And that is why I love this book. I just appreciate how simple the message really is. It's not this big, long list of strategies. It's a reminder that the way you speak to yourself and the way that you treat yourself is reflected in everything in your life. I'm doing a review of my top 10 favorite self-help books, and this one is definitely in my favorite top 10. I would love to know how you are enjoying this series. Have you enjoyed these book reviews? Are there other books that you think that I should review? I would just love to know how you feel about it. And if you know someone in your life who could benefit from this message or learning about this book or my coaching, please share this episode with them today. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Overwhelmed Working Woman podcast. If you want to learn more about my work, head over to my website at michellegothier.com. See you next week.